Right, and we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and it is a Monday. It is the Monday before the weekend. It is the start, really, of the build-up towards, for me, actually, probably one of the most anticipated finals since 1995, which sounds hectic, but it's the final we've all wanted, isn't it? You know, maybe it's not the final that we wanted 2 months ago in terms of a France-South Africa final, a France-Ireland final, a France-New Zealand, an Ireland-New Zealand, an Ireland-South Africa. But let's be honest, in terms of your traditional rugby nations, your traditional sort of rugby powerhouses, sorry, I need 2 seconds. This is it, isn't it? You know, we're talking about the 2 biggest rugby nations in the world. We're talking about the 2 most successful Rugby World Cup teams ever. There will be records broken on Saturday. You know, whoever wins will be the leading all-time record holder for the most World Cups won. They'll be the first team ever to win 4 World Cups. That is on the line on Saturday. That's regardless, because both South Africa and New Zealand currently sit on 3 apiece. They have absolutely dominated World Cup rugby since World Rugby have started. You know, we have been the dominant force. Have New Zealand and South Africa, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to sort of see how 2 teams, the world champions, who are always in with a chance when it comes to a World Cup, and especially coming into this game, was almost actually into the World Cup, were one of the favourites. The All Blacks, a bit of a different trajectory and a different situation for them, where they're a side that are always expected to compete for the World Cups, but won't give much of a chance. All of a sudden, they're almost being seen as the favourites for this weekend because of the draining nature of the match that happened this weekend for the Boks, who have had to have 2 really big games, looked a bit tired towards the end of them, 2 very mentally draining games as well. Whereas New Zealand had a pretty comfortable game against Argentina on Friday night, and so everybody is assuming and thinking that New Zealand will probably be a bit fresher, and therefore all of a sudden the team that wasn't given a chance really a year ago to win the World Cup final are almost going into the final with the momentum and almost as favourites. So there's a lot to talk about today, and very good to have these shows going. We'll be having a show basically every single day. A lot of content coming up on the channel this week, including something very, very special, which should be dropping on Wednesday. It is something we've been wanting to do for a long time. It's been something a lot of people have been asking us to do a long time. But in terms of your ultimate proper preview, very, very, very cool concept and show that or video that's going to be coming up in a few days' time. So very keen to share that with you guys now. Right, what do I want to talk about over the next sort of half an hour? I want to talk a little bit about team selection for this weekend. I'll talk a little bit about the Bongi and Mbonambi situation. I'll talk a little bit about what the All Blacks have had to say about the Springboks, and I'll talk a little bit about LUKHANYO, for example, and a couple of other things as well. So lots to talk about. As I said, it's good to be doing these shows. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and yeah, let's have a chat really. And first of all, a big thank you before we go any further to all of you guys, because the channel is doing very well. Very cool things that we managed to do over the last month really. Very good to be back in South Africa. In fact, I'm going to be putting a thank you video up on my personal channel to sort of give you guys an update on what France was like, some of the things we got up to, as well as yeah, a bit of reflections on what's still to come. And that's going to be very cool. So I'll do that a bit later. And then, but yeah, in terms of the channel, we are almost at 60,000 subscribers. We're sitting about less than 200 people short of 58,000. So to try and get basically 2,000 subscribers for the weekend would be amazing. And then let's see what we can do on Saturday, shall we? And a very cool stat as well is that the channel has officially passed 20 million views in total. How cool is that? We're talking about 20 million in over the lifetime. So since the first video that went out on the, I think it was the 18th of July, 2020. So about just over 3 years ago. From then to now, we have done 20 million views. And that's all because of you people. So massive shout out to you guys and a big thank you. But yeah, so welcome to the show. Let's get into it, shall we? So first things first, I want to talk a little bit about the Bongi and Mbonambi situation before I talk about LUKHANYO and the team selection. And I think that we need to be cautious with how we approach the Bongi and Mbonambi situation, because a lot is being said very matter-of-factly. A lot is being thrown around on social media, and this is, I mean, I've done 2 videos for it today, so I'm getting a bit bored of talking about it, but it needs to be addressed because it is a pretty big part of the preparations this week. And I think we just need to be very careful about what we do know, what we don't know. And there's a lot of assumptions happening at the moment, a lot of assuming. And I think it's a bit of a dangerous game because we don't really know what actually happened. And a lot of people are saying that they've gone back and they've checked the footage, for example. I've been trying to find footage. I've been trying to see if I can find footage without commentary, with just the ref talk and stuff like that. And to try and see if we can find when that incident happened, where he allegedly called Tom Currie a white C-bomb. I can't find anything. A lot of people are saying they can't find anything. Look, we don't have, for example, stadium mics, in like a clean feed, and we don't have ref mics in terms of a clean feed, which will be available. There probably are, there are recordings, for example, that will just be without the commentary being overlaid and stuff like that out there, which they'll have access to. So they'll have more to work with than we will have. And as a result, they'll be a bit more informed. So in terms of what did happen, what might have happened, so a lot of people are saying that it is a simple case of lost in translation, and that he used the word cunt in terms of the Afrikaans word. I'm going to very much clarify that before I get demonetized by YouTube, to mean side. And that could very well be the case. There's no doubt about that. It does sound very similar, pretty much sounds exactly the same, to be honest. So that a lot of people have very much dismissed it and saying, "Oh no, he just said this," but they don't know that. They're assuming. They're saying what is the most plausible option, and it could be a very safe assumption. It could very well be that. And if it is, then great. It's just a case of literally a language barrier, and lost in translation, and a misconception, and we can kind of move on. But I just think it's very dangerous to just flat out assume, oh, that's what happened, and to tell people that that's what happened when we don't know what's happened. Because people have almost actually have said, well, different versions of what he might have said a couple of times. And the fact that everyone's got a different version of the story, I think probably shows you how little we really actually know about the sort of the incident. And therefore, I don't think we should be making assumptions that we know matter of fact that he didn't say it. It does sound unlikely, and a lot of people are saying that, oh, it wouldn't be in his vocabulary. I don't know him particularly well. I can't say I've known him my entire life. I can't say I have beers with him every single week. I've got no idea what's in his vocabulary. Just because it's not in your vocabulary and doesn't seem to be in the everyday South African's vocabulary doesn't mean it isn't in his vocabulary. Doesn't mean it isn't a word he might use. We don't know this, unless matter of fact, that he doesn't say this. We're just assuming. We're making a lot of big assumptions, and I enjoy the fact that obviously everyone's going to come to his defense. We love our box. We love our players, and we're always going to defend them. But we need to be cautious at blind loyalty, because it can be a dangerous game. You need to understand when these things happen, you need to take a bit of emotion out of this, because had it been on the other end, if an English player had said something derogatory towards one of our players, we wouldn't be happy. We'd be fuming, and we'd be demanding action. We'd be demanding investigation. We'd be demanding bans. We'd be demanding that something were to happen. And therefore, I've got no issue with World Rugby investigating it, and I've got no issue with the fact that that they are investigating it. Because I think that, if there's an accusation and there is potential discrimination, which they are trying to cut out, then do an investigation, hopefully do it pretty quickly, and clear it, and we move. And it's a case of just finding the truth. I think that's the thing. It's a fact-finding mission, and hopefully the facts point out towards it being a complete misunderstanding, and we can move on. But I'm nervous about the way that we have just point-blank decided he's completely innocent. This is what happened, where people have got different versions of what happened by what they think assumed happened, and therefore we don't need to worry about it. Therefore, we just, it's a witch hunt. Apparently, it's just aimed at throwing off the box for the final. I do think we need to be a bit more cautious about that. I think we need to be a bit more level-headed and understand that there could have been something that happened. Let's go and find out, and then let's move on from there. which is pretty much the last I'd like to really talk about, to be honest. It's been a very interesting day, and obviously it's going to dominate news headlines. We are going to get an update out of the Bob camp about what's going on there very soon as well. And but yeah, I think as Brad McGee says, better stay neutral, accept that both can be true, and trust the process. I think that's the main thing. Trust the process. Let's find out what happened and go from there. I'm personally not going to take a side. I'm not going to throw out and say, this is what I think happened, or this is what might likely have happened. I think that we don't know what happened. And until I know what happened, or a bit more information on what happened, I'm not going to say that he's innocent, and I'm not going to say it's a witch hunt. Once I know what happened, then we'll move on. So let's move on, shall we? Go to some of the comments. And so, once you're talking about playing there, a couple of people talking about LUKHANYO, which we want to talk about him now. Brad's saying, well done, fully deserved, only up premiere. Thank you very much. Yeah, I hope so. You know, big milestones being reached so far in the last few days. Hopefully some more to come. Devalt saying, hey guys, there was a word if Boks make the final would bring Pimpy and Marks back. Any truth in that? Yes, there is truth in that. I don't know if they have left, but they did say, and I think it will happen, that if they were to reach the World Cup, they would be flying them over to join them. So as soon as I see confirmation, we'll let you guys know that they're on their way back. But yeah, they will be in Paris on Saturday, so that if we win the World Cup, those two will be there to celebrate with them. But Pimpy's back on his feet, obviously. I mean, he was always never off his feet. He was, in fact, actually, I think, on some of the Super Sport panels this weekend. So he's up and walking. Malcolm Marks, I imagine, will be on crutches or something similar. But yeah, they will both be in Paris on Saturday night, which will be a nice boost for the squad, you know. And not that they need more motivation, but it's just nice to be able to bring in that extra, you know, for example, Abongi Mbonambi, assuming he gets cleared and he plays and whatever, to sit there and watch Malcolm Marks not be able to play and say, I'm doing this for you. You know, this is, you know, hooker union. You know, you would have been here. You've been with me for years. We've been the duo. You're not here. I'm doing this for you. For Dion, for you to step in and say, right, we don't have you, and therefore we have me. I need to now put in a Malcolm Marks-esque performance. I need to put in the effort that you would have done, because that's what being part of the squad is. Same thing with the wings. You know, you sit there, as Currie Aaron said, you sit there thinking, right, well, Mapimpi scored a World Cup winning try 4 years ago, or Kane Moody, whoever's picked. I need to go out and do that tonight. I need to go put out a World Cup winning tackle. You know, these guys are here, and they would have done absolutely anything to be in my boots. I need to play with the respect and the passion and the commitment that is worthy of them, you know. So it's just a nice thing to add to it, and to be able to play for your players who are also not just not selected, you know, the players that won't get picked this weekend. Yeah, so James Anthony says Creel's been one of our top 3 players this World Cup so far. He's been in immensely excellent form. Why throw an unbaked in there? We'll talk about it in a little bit. And Zappy Kiwi saying we should go at 6-2 with Saban and Kane on the bench. 7-1 says Craig Morgan. Monsieur Taylor said people need to throw a thicker skin. Devalt saying, well, can play centre or wing, and he is brilliant in my opinion. Don't think he will start though, but he will be up on the backs with the bomb squad. In that case, I think team will be announced after All Blacks mentioned. No, so in terms of the team announcement, All Blacks team will be announced at 6:30 on Thursday. We will be live for it, and the box will be announced at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. We will be live for it. So we'll be bringing you guys all the team announcements, all the team news throughout the week. It will be on Thursday, though, that both teams are announced. We will announce ours technically earlier. Let's talk about, shall we? Right, so team selection. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because a lot of people are saying that we look tired, that, you know, we've now had 2 big efforts, and, you know, these boys are not going to be able to put it down for a 3rd effort. And look, it could be true. You know, these I mean, they're going to be on their last legs. There's no doubt about that. You know, they're not 100% fresh. They've just played games in a row. But all the teams have, really. And yes, the All Blacks might have had an easier game in inverted commas on Friday. But it's a World Cup final, you know. It is a certain amount of, this is not just any game. If there's a game where you can get yourself up, if there's a game where you can push through any sort of fatigue, it's this game. It's really this game, you know. I think, you know, it is a game that we need to be able to pick ourselves up, and they will be able to pick themselves up. So I mean, you look for example at players like Jesse Creel, who's played the most minutes, I think, in the squad. In fact, let's go look at some of the players who played the most minutes. I can tell you right now, Jesse Creel can play 80 minutes on Saturday, absolutely no problem at the intensities in playing all World Cup. He's a physical freak in terms of his conditioning. So, you know, I don't doubt that he wouldn't be able to cope. Here we go. Other players who played a lot of minutes, Dwayne Mullen, for example, I think that he would. So let me show you. Let's talk about it, shall we? So this is my predicted team. There it is. That is what I put out earlier as my potential predicted team. So Dwayne Mullen has played 250 minutes. Did come off this weekend, and at about what, the 60, 55 minute mark maybe. So he probably played another 50 odd minutes. So he's probably sitting at about 310, 320 minutes for the tournament. Which ironically Ben Earl, for example, had going into last week's game. But obviously, you know, Dwayne Mullen is a lot older, for example. So I think that he is a bit of a question mark in terms of whether he will start. I do not see how you will leave out Dwayne Mullen from this 23. You won't. You don't. You can't. You cannot leave out the most clutch player in that 23. He is. He won that World Cup performance he put in 4 years ago, man of the match in the World Cup final. He is made for these games. He really is. So he will be involved. I have zero doubt about that. It's just whether he will be starting or whether he'll look to come off the bench. I would be inclined to go with Jasper Wiese because I think we need a couple of big ball carriers. I think we need a couple of people who can really physically match up against the likes of a Shannon Brazil, a Brody Retallick. And not to say that Dwayne Mullen is not exactly physical. He's not as physical as he used to be. You know, he's just not. But, I mean, Jasper Wiese is a cannonball. It's what he does. That's why he's in the squad. He's there to be this big bruising ball carrier. And I think we could use that. So in terms of the front row, a lot of people asking for Oxenchair to start, Stephen Kitsoff to come off the bench. I mean, I don't really mind who starts and who comes off the bench, but I don't see them changing it, and I wouldn't change. I just think that Oxenchair has been so phenomenal. He's the best scrummager in the squad at the moment, and he's borderline the best scrummager in the world right now. He just is. In the URC, he decimated anybody in his path, and that same thing has been true for the last 2 weeks, where he's come on and he's won scrum penalties. Especially against your second choice props, really. I mean, he came on and Dan Cole was doing all right, and they then put Carl Sinclair on, and it was a field day for Oxenchair. He absolutely rinsed them at any opportunity. It was far too easy for him, and I think that if New Zealand go with what I think New Zealand will do, I think he'll make mincemeat of LUKHANYO, who's a good young player, good young prop, going to have a good career. Oxenchair, the form he's in, I think he takes him apart, to be honest. So yeah, I think you keep him on the bench and you say, right, last half an hour, bring in the scrum. Vince Cock, you just need to anchor, or Trevor Nyakane if they go Trevor Nyakane. You anchor that, and let Oxenchair absolutely destroy anybody in front of him. You know, that's for me what I would do. Locks as well. Arcus Neyman so good off the bench that you start with Evan Etzebeth, Franco Mostert. I really like the fact that the Buck management took off Evan Etzebeth. And not because he was playing badly. I definitely think Franco Mostert was having a better game, for example. I don't know if it was, I mean, Evan Etzebeth wasn't having his best game, which is, I mean, we're comparing it to the Evan Etzebeth standards, which I don't think any lock in the world right now can reach those standards right now when he's playing at his best ability. I think he's the best lock in the world. So it's harsh when he's to say he's not playing at his standards because they're also incredibly high. But I really enjoy the fact that you know, they're willing to make the big calls, and as a result, he did get a good 30 minutes rest in, for example, so he might be a bit fresher. Again, I wouldn't make any changes here. Franco Moss has got an unparalleled engine, and he doesn't make the same impact off the bench as Arcus Neyman does. So the only change I've got really in the pack there is Jasper Wiese coming in at 8. Backline, I think we go Faf and Andre Pollard, and why not? At the end of the day, Faf brings us so much control and so good defensively. So I think that he's a shoo-in. I think that Corbus Ryan struggled in the conditions. Conditions are looking pretty similar, by the way. Similar with Andre Pollard, I think they'll start him for the control that they want early on. And yeah, in terms of the wings, Chesney Colby starts, Adam Davis starts. Centers, I don't think they change. Why would they change? A lot of people calling for Andre Esterhuizen, and I'm a big fan of Andre Esterhuizen, but you're not going to suddenly just play him in the World Cup final. You know, Damien J. Lindy's been done it too long. He's been too reliable over the years. He's been too good to suddenly leave out for finals. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people talking about in the comments in the earlier one, LUKHANYO. Look, last year, LUKHANYO was one of the best players in the world. I genuinely think he was on course to be nominated as one of the best players in the world. and for injury. So we are talking about a game changer. We are talking about one of the best players out there. He's also not played rugby in 2 months. He has not played a rugby game since the beginning of August. Almost more than 2 months, really. And it was interesting that LUKHANYO Varsity's been blown away almost to a certain degree by how good he's been in training. And yet, again, game time hasn't played. Huge risk if you were to play him. It would be a massive risk. Is it a worthy risk? Well, yeah, look, I mean, LUKHANYO starts and he plays the way he knows he can play. Fantastic. And you can have a world-class player on the field. But I think the way JC Currie has played, you wouldn't change him. He has been phenomenal this tournament. And again, it's so short-sighted. He, I think, had one opportunity this weekend with ball in hand, which he not for, and therefore he had a bad game. Same thing as people saying Damon Delende had a bad game. We didn't get front foot ball this weekend. We didn't get a lot of ball this weekend. And it was so difficult to try and to see our backline try 80 go forward ball. I mean, we didn't exactly see Currie. We saw Currie answer maybe one run, Chaz and Colby similar type thing. So I don't think that there's. I think to go and sit there and say, oh, Jesse Currie had a bad game on this weekend is probably far from the truth. Look at the game he had against France. He was absolutely phenomenal. And he's been good the entire tournament. So, yeah, I'm the only place that LUKHANYO for me could make an appearance off the bench. I don't think he's the right type of player to come off the bench. The one interesting thing some people are suggesting is the LUKHANYO at 13 and JC Currie at 14. So it's interesting that all of a sudden that we're willing to sort of jig the team to accommodate, JC Currie, where a year ago people wouldn't have done that. And the reason for that is people are talking about the high ball battle and the fact that we really struggled with it this past weekend. And we have no doubt that come rain this weekend, that New Zealand will do something similar. So for that reason, for example, some people are talking about potentially Kane and Moody in the 14 jersey, or shifting JC Currie there, putting him in a bit of height, for example. I do think Currie Lawrence struggled a little bit. So it would be interesting to see what this decision is, in terms of, do we go with a conditions decision, which could be a Kane and Moody or JC Currie on the wing, or do we go with, Currie Lawrence is a something out of nothing type player. Give him an inch, he'll take a mile, and he can really hurt the All Blacks if he gets the space to do it. So it's an interesting thing to try and weigh up. So let's go to the comments, shall we? And over here, Savvy Kiwi says, Spice Club needs to find the form you had before the World Cup started. I think even in the early stage it was very good. Deerveld says, in 1995, yours played with a massive injury. Andre Yubert played with a broken hand, and they were brilliant. When adrenaline kicks in, you feel no pain. Guess who wants it the most? Savvy Kiwi says, to be honest, our backs had a week off against England. They'll be fine. We need to see about changes in the forward pack. Deerveld saying, I still think they will start with Liebach due to flair. Perhaps give the option same as past weekend. If shit hits the fan, bring Faf and Pollard going into a tiring match. Need good fresh legs. Saying Oscar made bank in France. Oh, he definitely could. I mean, a scrummaging prop like him in France. He'd doing all the dosh. Take the risk says, how about Kane and Moody? He in the final. He's needed in the final. It's a big call to put him in there. It'd be interesting to see where, if he were to play him, it has to be in the wing. I'd never play him an outside centre. But yeah, it'll be a huge call if he were to play. Adrian said, first of all, JC Currie has been outstanding. He has served the Springboks very well. I just feel like we need some new and fresh, especially for the All Blacks. I would consider selecting I think if Ahmed played any rugby during the World Cup, I think it would be a consideration. But to make his World Cup entry in the World Cup final at the expense of someone who's been really good would be a huge one, to be honest. Monsieur Taylor says, regardless of who plays, they all get a medal and are all classed as champions. 100%. You are a World Cup winner, regardless of whether you actually play in the final or not. Papello says, I say 7-1 again. Don't think we'll do it. I'm not even convinced about the 6-2. I would like to see a 6-2, as you can see by my prediction. But my gut says that they want to have Mani and Pollard around, and therefore that doesn't really lend itself to a 6-2. So yeah, but I'm very keen to see what we do on Thursday. Craig says Moody is the must because the All Blacks have seen so much of Creel. Box needs something fresh, surprise. Yeah, no, see, I wouldn't suddenly dust Creel because they've seen him. To be fair, they saw Kane and Moody in August, so they haven't even played Jesse Creel. Who played in? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the All Blacks actually haven't even played against Jesse Creel because they played against the LUKHANYO in New Zealand and played against Kane and Moody at Twickenham. So Yeah, they've seen a lot of Creel. They actually haven't played against him very recently. So that's an interesting point as well. Gerald says, we cannot give the All Blacks back an opportunity. No block team ever defend like 1995 team defended. I don't think our backs can defend like that. Too many holes, but we can attack and attack hard. Savvy Kiwis reckons I would have Marnie start. Again, shouldn't be raining during the game. The pitch will be wet. Well, yeah, I think a lot of it will have to... I think that there could be a couple of BTRologists in that block camp this weekend trying to decide what is going to happen. In terms of how much is going to influence selection. Yeah, it's an interesting one in terms of how much do you play to the conditions as well, which can change. I mean, you have to make a call 48 hours in advance, more than 48 hours in advance, about 36 hours in advance. So, you know, how much... No, I'm being stupid. 36. About, what, 48... Yeah, about 60, 70, almost 72 hours in advance, really. So you're making a big call without really knowing what the conditions are going to be. You can make a guess, but they could change. And again, how much do you adapt things to what the conditions are going to be? How much do you just say, right, well, this is our team. This is the team we reckon can win, and we're going to back them. Which I kind of think that they'll kind of be more inclined to do than to really just go and say, right, well, it's just going to be raining, therefore we're going to pick the most wet-orientated type team, and off we go. But... yeah, the odds says I'm a definite yes. Put like a forward bomb squad, perhaps add as a backline bomb squad. I think 5-3 bomb squad and Pollard, Faf, and Bonzi says Kane and Moody and Andre. I don't think we'll see that. I don't think we're going to suddenly see Andre Esterhuizen and Kane and Moody playing at 12 and 13. It would be a massive call if they did. It's an interesting damned if you do, damned if you don't decision. I think that's the one thing we need to be very clear about. Is that if they back Dale Lindy and Jesse Creel, which I think that they should and will, then we back them. And let's not be those people that if they then don't have the best of games, will sit there saying, oh, we knew it. You know, we should have played Andre and Kanan because if they had, we would have won. Because we're going to do exactly the same thing if they go the other way, aren't they? You know, if we were to start Kanan Moody and Andre Esterhuizen and we lost, the same people would then be, oh, well, you know, you experimented, what do you expect? So it's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation, isn't it, for the box, where they've got to try and weigh up fatigue factor with the form factor and the continuity factor. So it's a very difficult decision to make, and I don't envy them having to make it at all. So yeah, the odd saying, hey, we all have our theories. I think bounce the ball, discipline, and who wants it most. Let's hope for the best. Thanks for going to show, my friend. Very, very welcome. Thank you for joining. How old is this? And as they said there, he is he's 27. I think he's a bit older than that. 29, yeah, it's 29. Yeah, so you could make another World Cup, for example. But yeah, right. So we're pretty much ended there. A couple other things that said, yeah. So there's a bit of quotes that came out of the New Zealand camp, which I'm about to do a video about. So go and check that out. It's quite a long press conference, a lot to talk about. Tamati Williams was there. They asked a couple of things to Samasoni Takawau. But the main thing was a lot of stuff being said by Scott McLeod. So you will have a reaction video coming up very shortly for that. We'll also have a Bok press conference coming up in the next couple of hours. It'll be Don Heenan, Jean Klein, and Marvin Ori, who will be in front of the media. So we will have that up very soon as well. It was a little bit earlier, so hopefully we'll get that video up this evening, so you guys can see exactly what's happening. And hopefully they'll be able to address the Bongi Manambi situation as well. On the way out, people, please could you smash a like on the video. If you are new, and surely there must be a couple of you people in the chat there, please do subscribe. As we said, we are trying to get to 60,000 subscribers. It would be really cool if you can do it before the weekend. And then we try and push on. And to try and see if we can get 65, 70,000. Who knows where this could end on the very long-term road to 100,000 subscribers, which is where you get like the cool like YouTube plaque and stuff. So yeah, but I mean, we're barely past halfway there. So there's very much pipeline dreams and very much a long-term thing. But anyway, people, thank you very much and enjoy your Monday evenings. We will be live again tomorrow, probably for a lunchtime show. So stay tuned for exactly what news pops up tomorrow, and then we'll be live on Wednesday. And we'll be live a lot on Thursday, actually, because it'll be All Black team announcement at about 6 o'clock. So we'll have an announcement reaction show from about 6 to 6:30. Then fan forum from about 7 p.m. onwards. We'll also have a reaction show on Thursday morning with the Springboks squad being announced at 9. And we'll also be live on Friday night, obviously, for the third and fourth playoff. And then Saturday is going to be the big day, which is going to be very cool. So, yeah, that's what you got to look forward to. Obviously, we'll have press conferences for you every single day of the week, hopefully. That is the plan. That's where the press conferences get cancelled or things happen. But yeah, right now it is planned that there will be a press conference, at least one from either side, New Zealand and Box, going up all week. So yeah, let me know what you think of that.